Filth Encrusted is the second full-length album from Soul Grinder. This is a Portland, Oregon-based heavy slash thrash metal band who they essentially deal with a little bit of sort of a like a late 80s thrash metal feeling, an early 80s speed metal feeling, and keeping it fairly classic and anthemic and for the most part. Now that isn't where they started. They started with a little bit of a sludge metal influence, a little bit of a modern thrash metal influence, and more of like a almost a death thrash feeling on their first record. It was heavy, it was slower, but it was more aggressive. The vocals were definitely less I guess there was less of an enunciation to them and more of an aggression. And this record takes it to more of a heavy metal place where the vocals are a little bit more clear. The songs are written in a more memorable way, and a lot of that comes from more of a focus on traditional heavy metal throughout this album. So we'll get to a song that will, I think, demonstrate pretty clearly that this is a simpler, more straightforward side of the band who communicate more directly. So we could start in a lot of different places in terms of precedence. I think that the vocalist's register reminds me quite a lot of certain songs from or like early 80s Plasmatics as they approached more of a metal punk position. But also there's, like a little bit of Blackie Lawless in the movement of the vocals too. There's maybe even a little bit of Dave Mustaine in some of the way the songs are presented outside of the harmonized parts. So we could also look to Holy Moses. I think if you like a record like Queen of Siam, but found it a little bit mushy, there's a lot of like a clearer version of that here, and some of that aggression and anthemic quality to the kind of more rocking side of their sound. Now this is still essentially a speed metal band with double bass drumming, and in a lot of ways. There's a particular song in here which is pretty important to the track list that reminded me of Hallows Eve's sort of Lethal Tendencies era, which was pretty heavy for its time. And that comes across here. It really suits their sound pretty well to go in that direction. And I think the slower songs are a lot more successful here overall, even though it's cool when they kick up the speed a bit. Otherwise, the songwriting is much more simple this time around, and as a result, it is both more anthemic and effective. Now, that doesn't justify having a ballad in here. I don't like that, that they've included that. I think Plague Pilgrim is, well, I don't know if I want to call it a ballad, but it's a momentum killer. And for an album it's pretty strong throughout otherwise. So that is the major ding here. I think that otherwise the art style is very strong. I think the vocalist, bassist did the paintings for each of their album covers thus far. Very strong aesthetic, very strong production sound, and generally just like a good live band that comes across really well on record. Maybe a little bit bigger on this record, and yeah, I think the songwriting really shines here. They have a lot of fun with the aesthetic and all that, but really the songs are what sold this album to me. And I think what'll make it last in mind as the months go by. So that's a moderately high recommendation for me. I think that if that one song just hadn't if it had clicked with me, it would be a different score. But overall, I think they're headed in the right direction, and it's just a great, memorable record if you're into thrash and maybe some more slower, traditional heavy rock, heavy metal kind of thing. So check that out if you feel like it, and read the review on the site.
I can't believe we'll break our seat. Chaos left, no running back.